Well, thank you so much for tuning in for my clip notes of my season 1 episode from 1 through 4, where in this episode I continued from last week clip notes part 1. So in this clip notes part 2, I concluded that recording that I did to give you some background information to bring you in. This also will be a great example of the bonuses, some of the rewards that if you are a patron to my podcast, Nichelle Anderson Short Stories and Beyond, you get to receive these types of clip notes that I would do periodically. I won't do a lot of them where it will have, free access. Most of them would be underneath my Patron platform, but I do plan to have sometimes bring them up, or at least sometimes have them uploaded. And sometimes I would do that maybe once a month. I'm not sure, but I will provide that because I think that's a wonderful opportunity for you to be able to see the background of how I create these stories, learn some more information about the characters, and point out some things that maybe you missed when you were listening to it, and to, bring you more into my domain of my stories, right? And beyond, of course. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please tune in next week, and please consider to be a patron. I will have the link to my Patron page as well. I can state that is www.patreon.com/Nichelle Anderson, and that goes over all the rewards that you will get depending on your level. The first level starts at only $3. You can cancel anytime, but you're able to get access to more stories, more type of rewards that I do provide, background access, be able to perhaps stuff that I'm not really advertising just for anybody. I hope you do consider. Thanks so much for joining in to my podcast of my clip notes. Go and jump to episode 3, which in episode 3 we're talking about, that title is talking about Upon the Truth, Many Mysteries Are Revealed. Here, we automatically open the scenes with the Orions. I felt that I needed to kind of close, or at least weave another weave into the Orion story. What happened to Natu? Okay, why is he really scared to talk to his superiors? Why would Comrade Tatar say that if he knew that the expectation of King Milan was going to throw everything off track? But then we open up a scene of another character that has not been introduced like Natu in any of my previous productions with Mitzrayim. His name is Echo. He is the head leader from the Orion skies. And he spoke in his language, of course, and the first thing he said to Natu when he entered their domain, which seems to be they're in modern day Africa. I call it it was the West Bank of the Sudan. So it's some type of secret location, and they're in some type of cave, which would make it more mysterious. But that's what I kept seeing in my mind, that he was walking in this disclosed location that no one knew, which would explain why Queen Hagar made sure the first thing she said when she heard them coming into the chambers, did anybody see him come here? And so anyhow, he walks into this dark, damp cave, and he sees it disappears. In a sense, it was dark, not that much light, only the moonlight. I call it Kingo, but only the moonlight dripping in some of the maybe partial of holes in that cave to get you some type of light, perhaps in that sense. And that when it was able to get some light in there, that's when he saw the elders. So it was like secret tunnels. Let's think of it that way. And so Echo said to Natu, "You made it here in one regard, I see." To that nature, he said that. And, he was very hesitating. He didn't want to say it. And then there's Lanko, another Orion of the council. Echo is the leader, it seems, here in the west bank of the Sudan, and Lanko is a fellow council member as well. He is very upset. I just kept seeing him charging at Natu when I was writing it, and he was very angry and wanted to do some things, and they was about to fight, and Echo yelled for Lanko to stop. And so what I also saw is that Echo came back and demanded some answers, and what he said was key. He said in their language, he basically said, "You informed the council that King Milan did not make it well out of the war." Now, I'm not sure, backing up in episode 2, that they're talking about the war that Natu mentioned, or this was a recent new war. We don't know that yet. It was definitely something that King Milan got hurt, because that's what the status that they was hoping to see, that they're dealing with somebody else. And when I say dealing with somebody else, that's when Natu had to mention that he's actually alive. And that's when, they really could not believe that this is actually so. With that being said, then we find out that he also tells them that Queen Hagar is now ruling as sole rule, deciding matters, and this is the key, of which we seek to control. That's what Natu said to Echo and the rest of the Alliance Council. I quote, he said, "The king is alive but was not present." And basically he's just talking about in the sense that we expected the representatives of the king, because Echo said before that, did not see the elders of the king. Did you speak to the king's royal elders? So again, if something happened to the king, there would be his advisors or what have you to come up. Of course, the queen can take center stage, if so be it. But it seems that Queen Hagar made that call, and that was the arrangement, that she would take complete deciding matters. Even if the advisor says this or that, it would be her decision, because that's what Natu told Echo and the rest of his superiors, that Queen Hagar is now ruling as sole rule, deciding matters of which they wish to control. So it's something, of course, they want to get and be in control of. What that is, we will not know that yet until I reveal that in future episodes, and when I will reveal that. But yeah, so that sets it up on that point. And then after that, of course, you talk about Ezra and Queen Hagar and how they are together on this balcony, and they're just, enjoying that moment when I revealed King Milan's status, when he is laying on that sled of gold, and some of his body is wrapped in fine linen, and that's describing some type of course injuries that he had. And then as soon as his spirit felt when she told him that there's a new dawn, and so basically in that context, meaning that there's a new baby coming, and so to give hope and to give a connection with the spirit world, in the sense that we can get past this. And that's what she said to him. We will deal with the Orion somehow, in some way. It's a new day. It's a new beginning. And so, because that's what a new birth that's coming. It's a new beginning. And so from that connection and that power, and that he was able to come out of what we would call today a coma, or come out asleep, that he wasn't just hanging on by a thread, that it gave him the power to keep going and to wake up. And by the thankful of Canoe, which is, the person which is what they believe in, that's in control of everything, to have that blessing, and he has awoken. And so she is so thrilled, because that's true love between them two. As Ezra was there to be able to witness that moment between the king and queen, the king has awoken. So he was very ecstatic as well. So of course, in that particular episode, moving forward, when we're talking about the episode Upon the Truth, Many Mysteries Are Revealed, that was uploaded and published on November the 27th, 2017. And at the end of that scene, Queen Hagar and Ezra talking about King Milan and how happy that they are. And Queen Hagar just felt I felt that I needed to say something about Hannah. I know in the very first episode, I mentioned at the end where Queen Hagar telepathically told Hannah that they would talk soon. Now, I could have pushed it off more to have that scene with them, but something told me in this episode, upon truths, media mysteries are revealed, to come back to that and to let listeners know that that scene is important, that they will have a talk, or definitely a talk where she's mentioning to Ezra that now's the time to tell her about her father, King Milan. He has awoken and he will only get better. Now, she doesn't mention about the baby yet, and I can only think even modern day times when a mother is pregnant, they do wait a while. So it could be an old tradition just to wait, to see everything's continue on progress, and then you announce it. But for some reason she felt, or at least it's normal in the day, as soon as you find out, or at least you confirm that it's good to go, you let the father know that he's having a baby. But everybody else, you kind of keep that to your side. So I didn't felt that she needed to say that to Ezra, that I'm also going to tell Hannah about she will have a brother or sister. It felt that that's what needed to be said. It felt that Queen Hagar was focused on about her father, that now is safe to say, because it seems like later on when she turns around and sees someone coming on the balcony, which we find out that it's a spy, the royal family spy in the military, which also will put the pieces together of something happened. Perhaps it was a traitor amongst them, and that they either designated Heko or they designated someone that they could trust, known for a while, to have extra eyes to find out that doesn't happen again, or at least to that severe, that the king is severely wounded in some type of battle. And anyway, he comes on to the scene and only hands her a message on the papyrus, and she's reading it. And for some reason, you get the impression, or at least the impression is that her additional spies saw when Comrade Datar left, and Comrade Datar went to see someone that the royal family knows that they are the enemy of Mitzrayim. But she senses, as she says, I sense that Comrade Datar is on our side. So that gave a big opening to show that Comrade Datar, even before that moment, that she felt that even though he's going to see this enemy of us, I don't think that he's a traitor. I don't think he's one of them. That's what you need to take away from that moment. And so when she says that, and then she came back and then she said that our forces will send a message along with Comrade Datar. So she's clearly, as the queen and Mitzrayim, standing by Comrade Datar. So he must have did something. Think about that. He must have did something to have that type of high stakes, top of the line support from a royal family and their army, because she didn't say send 5. She didn't say to send 2. For some reason in my mind, when I was writing it, I kept hearing a higher number, and I went with 400. And when you think about it, it made sense when she said at the end, it was send a message. It will seal that message. Come on, you got 400 military soldiers ready to go at your command. You're doing something, okay? Now, of course, the daytime is 3 times as that, but just think about that many in that sense. You're not actually going to war, but you're providing a position that you're not playing, and we stand by Comrade Datar. And so that's when that scene ends. And then we go to episode 4, where I'm calling it Enemies Abound If Left Unattended. And so you do experience that audio clip, that podcast. When you do experience that podcast, you will get to learn more about the Orions and how they are in it to rent it. I'm going to jump ahead in that scene where you are introduced again to Echo, and he's going through one of those tunnels, and it's a step case, or at least a stone step case, whatever it is. He's walking on some steps to get him out of the cave in a secret area of the cave that not many know about, even his council members. We don't hear about Natu. For some reason, Natu did not come through in that particular scene, and he automatically used this reflecting of light. And before I knew how they could communicate in this sense, in this time frame, it just seemed that I just saw it in my mind and I just described it. Now, backing up for last episode, when Queen Hagar tell Helek to go ahead and send 400, that's a lot of people, right? They have to be able to get to this Ganuto that she mentioned in a short period of time, because Comrade Datar already made the journey there, which it seems it must have took more than a day. And so that would explain how she could get that many soldiers there to be able to show their force, and they will protect Kamadatar and to make sure nothing happens to him, or it's going to be something, you know. And so to do that, it would be some type of fast, you know, they just can't pick up a phone. Hey, I need you, you know, over here, da da da. They can't do that. And so I had to figure out exactly what that was. So I did what I always do. I just start writing, and then it just came like a flow. And so later on, I explain that where Kalan, that's with Kamar Datar, they gave him the initial message of this person, one of the enemies of Mitzrayim, that he noticed that reflection of light that Mitzrayim does. Well, Echo does the same thing. I just felt something was small. It wasn't a big type gold shield, or it wasn't that flickering of light back and forth that Mitzrayim did with their allies, their supporters in the region, to be able to get to the location faster instead of them trying to travel there, you know. And so at any rate, Echo did the same thing, but he used something smaller, but he was pointing up to the skies, not actually perhaps on a higher ledge to another village far away, and then they bounced that off, and then they started communicating to the other group of soldiers that will follow Mitzrayim into battle, or at least into this number of soldiers that Queen Hagar ordered to be on the banks of Ganuto to help Comrade Datar and to send a message. And so Echo does it the same thing, but he does it a different way. And so he ends the scene in episode 4. Prior to that, before I get back to that, you have Comrade Datar that, as a young, you got to give it to him, as a young soldier, and he's very talented. It seemed like whoever this person is, he wants to take care of it, and he wants to show not only his loyalty to Mitzrayim. That's why he said Kalan, or at least said to the other, Kalan went with him to the other soldiers that were around when he read or saw that message wrapped in that brown cloth, is don't tell the queen yet. So he probably didn't want the queen to worry as much. He wanted to investigate and find out exactly what was going on. So we don't know if Kamar Datar was going to try to take this person out, or was just going to send a message that it must be some type of truce, or at least for right now. Nobody's going into any war, but it's just a truce, and he's trying to communicate with this person that have been designated as an enemy. But before he enters the tent, Kalan stopped them and said, look, and he pointed to this flickering of light, and it was a message to Comrade Datar and the guards that he was with. And sure enough, they sent a message, and it says, I quote, "We come by the order of the Queen of Mitzrayim to be on your side. We will move at your command, Comrade Datar." And I just felt, because at first I wasn't going to write that. I was just going to have Comrade Datar see them, and he's going to put it together. But for some reason, I felt I need to show that they also use that same communication transmission by a reflection of light, using shield of gold or some type of jewel, some type of material that not only worth a lot, but something that could be able to show that reflection and that back and forth, almost like a transcode type of thing. And I just needed to say something I felt, and that's what came to me when I started writing it. And sure enough, as I wrote it, I was just as speechless as I said Comrade Datar was. He was speechless because it said so much. It said that the queen, that Mitzrayim, supports you, believe in you, and know what you're about to do, and don't see you as a traitor, but see you as a Mitzrayim, a Mitzrite, and that we are here to defend you, and we will go to battle again if so be it. And so to have that extra support, to have that military support, to be able, I mean, to me at that moment, he was promoted. He was put in a higher position without even the official ceremony to do it. as a person in their military army. So that shows that he must have did something on a continuous basis to have the trust of the queen while her husband is not well. I mean, he's getting well, but while her husband is getting well, for that moment that she had with him and told her about the new dawn that's coming, he was in a very severe state. And so to have that trust in someone that young, he did something. And of course, you have to wait to find out. But getting back to Echo before I wrap up my clip notes, Echo ends that particular scene of that short story in episode 4. And it goes fitting to the title because his enemies abound if unattended. Okay, that's the title there for episode 4. Enemies abound if left unattended. And he says something that I kept seeing, what I wanted him to say. And basically what I wanted him to say was, in a sense, like he did. Once he finished communicating with his metal object in the skies, he basically said, our elders will make it known to King Milan. It is only the beginning. So it shows that in the past it was constant friction, because remember in the first episode, Queen Hagar stated, we will handle the Orions. Like, it's been going on for a while. And then you probably won't be able to find out anytime recent, or maybe you will, I don't know, it depends, that Queen Hagar knows their language. So how did she learn that? What happened? Was it recent? Was it in a childhood? How did that came about? Because that freaked out Natu. He just kind of like gasped for air if he really could play it off. But I know he had to stand his ground. But it really took him by surprise that I'm not dealing with any queen. I'm dealing with someone that knows our history and it can speak our language, so she can speak on my level and say some things, know some things, as you might say. But yeah, so he says that Echo, when he turns around and the guards start following him back into the cave, our elders will make it known to King Milan. And so basically that's another confirmation. They know King Milan, not only he's alive, he's going to get better. That means he will be back in power. They will not be dealing with his elders, as they probably thought that they would more perhaps pick somebody else to be king, and therefore they can perhaps manipulate in some case to control, because that's what Natu said. She's controlling, she's making the decisions basically of what we wish to control. So the question is, what are they trying to control? Who are the Orions? What tribe are them from? Are they in a tribe? Or are it something else? Because I did mention he's communicating in the sky. So we got to try to figure that out, right? Of course, I already know, but I can't tell you everything. But anyway, yes, so that's very particular. And then before I did that and ended it, it's the middle part, which I really enjoyed writing, which was Queen Hagar and Princess Hannah. You get to see the young Princess Hannah excited to see her mother again, to spend time with her in the early morning dawn. And I remember, as I'm about to wrap up here, when I wrote Mitzrayim, I remember seeing that image with Princess Amina and Princess Hannah. And they all had their female attendants. Queen Hagar was up front, and I kept remember seeing the scene where they were going to, where I'm calling it the Nile water chambers, or the Nile chambers, where the water from the Nile streams in like a morning bath, right? And I remember seeing that often. And then to redo this, where this is before the time of Princess Amina, but it was a special moment because it was only at that time Queen Hagar and Princess Hannah. So they, both of them were sharing this moment together, and they sat in almost like like a spa, as you can say, and they, sat together and were able to talk, to share that moment between a mother and daughter. And that's where Hannah felt, as she told Ezra in the last episode, it's okay to tell Princess Hannah about her father. How excited Princess Hannah was when she found out her dad. And you got to get a backstory on this, or at least kind of put it together, when obviously Princess Hannah did not know the status of her father, but she knew something was up, because she mentioned to her mother, she said, I was told not to worry, even though she was still scared before her mother said that her father was fine, he's alive, basically. And so you have to wonder that when something happened, to protect Hannah for no trauma, that the status of her father wasn't told. Plus, it would keep the traitors that could still be within the mix of the royal family and their government, as we might say today, that to keep King Milan safe, it had to be kept the secret to a very, very few, which would make sense if you think about it. People of that status or what have you, and the power that they have, the little that people know is the best. And so with Hannah's case, it was just to protect her, for her to not have any type of emotional trauma, because King Milan wasn't completely gone. He was just in a severe condition, and Ezra was there to help, as well as Queen Hagar, as we would say, continue to pray for his for his recovery. So to keep Princess Hannah not to know, so she had to be told, very little information, and just to trust her, because that's what Queen Hagar says later. You trust me, yes? You trust in me, yes? And then Princess Hannah said, yes, I always do, mother. So she probably wanted to know, but since her mother didn't say, would this happen to your father, that happened to your father, she must have just told Princess Hannah, now is not the time. She must have told Princess Hannah something to ease her a bit, but not to worry. And that for the state of Mitzrayim, just know that your father was, she must have said it in a way that not to too much worry, but also to let her know something happened. So just trust in me. That's what she said. Trust in me. Yes? Asking Hannah, and then Hannah came back and said, yes, I do, mother. So at any rate, that concludes my clip notes. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave some comments. Talk to me about what you thought that I intended when I wrote it, or how you felt about when you were listening to these stories. Talk about some of these characters and how you are able to now connect more with them, and these new characters that I'm bringing in, and so forth, and going from that. I know some people might be worrying about, where are the kings? Where are the kings? And trust me, they are coming up. But for right now, I got to keep you on your toes, interested. Of course you already are, because you're listening to this. But they are coming up. But I'm enjoying this process because I get to go more in depth into those characters that came through to me when I wrote Mitzrayim. But yes, all of those background stories of the kings, King Damar, King Daniel, Princess Hannah, husband, how did that come about? That she was already married, so she became a queen when the story opens up in Mitzrayim with Princess Amina. And so all of that would come up. And then in the book, they actually have a brother. But I can't go into that because, number one, you got to buy my book, Mitzrayim, a memoir. And number two, I want to keep it extremely, every episode you got to tune in. And I do want to touch on that, is I do have a Patron page. I'll spell it for you. It's at www.patreon.com/Nichelle Anderson. And so I love doing these writing stories or what have you. I could produce some more, but as well, I'm hoping that if you really like my work, that you will become a patron. The first level is like $3 a month. You can cancel anytime, right? It's not, you're locked in and you can't get out of it. And then plus each level you get some type of reward, and I like doing the reward things. It's fun. But yeah, just take a look at that on that page. I will have the link below in the description of this audio and visual effect video. I know I would do. And so that will give you an idea what you can also get by just being a patron, and you get access to more stories. You get access to the interviews that I plan on doing, and the interviews will be perhaps maybe someone that I'm taking from my Survival Your Journey Towards Success podcast, and asking them, do they want to read a character? Which would be fun if they never did it before. I never actually did it in this format. I'm mainly a writer or a director, but I felt that this would be a good way for me to produce more while I'm working on my next project, which is the prestige return of MOLIAE stage play, that I know quite a bit of people is definitely waiting on that, and that's what I'm working on. So in the meantime, before that is actually announced, we'll hit stage with our one dates. This will give that extra continuation of my writing. And again, this podcast, Nichelle Anderson Short Stories and Beyond, will have modern day stories. So of course I wanted to kick off Mitzrayim, MOLIAE, Moments of Love in Ancient Egypt. That's my heart, what started off for my writing. But as well, I will in the future in this podcast do modern day stories when I kind of close the book on MOLIAE and then focus on a modern day story and then return back to MOLIAE and start writing about that. Because again, I mentioned it's over 50 different characters that came through in the book. So even from that, I can just continue the story, all leading up to around when it's Princess Amina on the scene. I hope you really enjoyed this clip notes, and I hope you follow my podcast here, Nichelle Anderson Short Stories and Beyond. Follow, subscribe, share, and most importantly, consider to be a patron to support this production here, because it is a production. The most time put with it deals with the editing part. Now I could just go ahead and just do the audio and keep it moving, but I know most people, when they listen to audiobooks, they are visualizing it, but also to actually see some type of visual aspect to it gives you a different experience. And so when I do that, that takes some time there, right? And to be able to be a patron and contribute to that will help with the time allotted needed to be able to release those things, especially on a weekly basis. But I hope you do consider that. And like I said, on the website, it goes in detail about the program and how you can participate. And if you want to go ahead and cancel it, you can. But if you really follow me, at least you're one of my followers that been around with me for a while and saw what I produce. I have produced a lot. And so this is really the first time me stepping out there and just saying this could be a part where you can really invest in my projects and I can keep going if you enjoyed my stories, what I was able to do producing these and different things and like that, and I can continue to produce. Do consider to be a patron. I really would appreciate it, and I am honored and thankful that you took this opportunity to listen to my podcast. Thank you so much. Salam.